Life Happens podcast. I'm your co host, Grace, and this is my amazing co host, Kim. And then we have B. Jones. Hey, B. Jones. Oh, just, but
Oh,
anyway,
I love that profile, dude. That's awesome.
as you guys know, the Life Happens podcast is a podcast where we combine our spirituality with everyday practical things to create this beautiful balance. And I don't know if you know this though, but I am always thinking about balance, working on balance. How can I better my personal life, private life, and just everything I do? So balance is so important, guys. Um, our topic today is the basics of relationships, and I thought it's a very interesting topic only because of the question that we're going to pose in a little bit. But before we get into that, guys, how was your weekend?
Really great weekend. I had a really good weekend. What did I do? It was Labor Day weekend, so we stayed home, and my daughters came home and ate, which is really great. Had some
Wait,
company over for Labor Day, which is really awesome to have
was Jessica home?
family over. Huh?
Is Jessica home?
No, it wasn't Jessica. Jade came, and
Okay.
then Shelby had just made it back from Colorado, so everybody was
Mm,
home for Labor Day, which is really great. No,
okay.
Jessica will actually be home this Friday. She only will be here for the weekend, though, so
Oh wow.
I'm so happy we get to see her.
That's so cool, though. What about you, B. Jones? What did you do?
Chill. I chilled. Just chilling. Worked out. Ate healthy. Watched some movies.
Hmm.
Chill.
So, okay. So, y'all, I've been watching this thing on Netflix. It's like this Indian dating show. Um, and it's like a matchmaker show where this lady, it's in India. It's about Indians, it's based in India. But then I was looking at that and I thought it's so interesting. Like, if you have this profile and then you choose somebody that you haven't really dated and you get married. And I was looking at how long these people, like the parents' marriages, have lasted. And I thought, well, that may not be such a bad idea, right? No.
Arranged marriages?
Yeah, but I mean, it's based upon, I mean, it's a person on paper, and then you meet them, and then you can see if you got chemistry, if there's anything going on. If not, then you just get the next person comes. But the weddings were
Hey,
so freaking beautiful, like just the colors and the clothes, and I was like, oh, it was gorgeous. I love that part of it. I don't know if I want somebody to tell me, are you going to marry Bobby Joe on the 22nd of January? Mm. Hey, Alicia. I don't know if I could do that though.
why not? It's like it just be like dating someone that you met online, right? You go see if there's any sort of chemistry, see if it's a match, and if it doesn't, then you move on.
I guess so. Alicia says so. It's like marriage at first sight. A little bit like that, yeah. But I love the culture part of it because it reminds me of my upbringing, right? Because even though I grew up in Africa, the culture was a lot of African. I mean, not African, but like Indian. So when I was looking at that, I was like, I missed that part of it. I want to wear the dress. I want to wear a sari. Hi, Rachel. I want to wear a sari one day. I want to wrap myself like a mummy, but a dress. It's really, but let me tell you, I want a cobalt blue sari. And to
You
get
should
out
get
of it, you
them.
have to like push me like a, and then I'm gonna roll out of it. You know what I'm saying? So wrap like a mummy. I just love cobalt blue, and I want a cobalt blue sari. So the next time I go to South Africa, I'm going to get a cobalt blue sari because it's cheaper anyway, and I'm gonna get a whole bunch of traditional Indian stuff made because I couldn't wear the
Yeah.
Zulu stuff because
Their stuff is so beautiful.
it
Jessica bought a
is.
sari. Her
So
friend
I
is
love that.
from her friend is from India, and she wanted to have an Indian party, so she cooked all this Indian food, and she had all of her friends, and Jessica was one of them, and they all had to buy saris.
Oh, that's
Am I
so
saying it
cool.
right? A
Yeah. So,
sari,
no, honey, not sorry. You're not sorry. A sari.
a sari. So they all bought one. So Jessica
And then
bought like
wait, you gotta roll your R. A sari.
a sari.
Yes.
So
See,
Jessica bought like an orange and
there
yellow.
you
It's
go.
very pretty. It's so pretty. And they all took pictures and ate Indian food, and
Yeah,
it's great.
did you ever come over like many years ago? And when we were in dispatch, I invited everybody to come over and I cook Indian food. Were you there?
No,
Where were you, Kim?
probably I had two little kids. I probably was at home.
Yeah, that would have been it. Did I have any kids? I just think I had Layla at the time.
You probably just had Layla.
Yeah.
But if
Okay.
you ever want to do that again, Grace, let me know. I'm there. No
Yeah, I would
children
do it
this
again. I
time.
just haven't. I have to plan it, and we're gonna have to wear traditional clothes though. We're gonna sit on the floor and eat with your hands, and I'll be like, "Oh my god, I don't eat with my hands because that's how I just no.
No, I
We
would
eat
do
with
it.
your hands."
Yes, I would do it. I'm down. I would do it. When
Okay.
John B comes here, to spend the night or whatever, because she's traveling or whatever, she'll cook us Indian food.
Oh, okay. All right, guys, let's jump into this topic. Okay, so the question is, why are men taught how to treat women, but women aren't taught how to treat men? Is this a true statement? What
Yes,
do you guys think? Okay, B. Jones, I mean, you just jump right into this, but why do you say that's a true statement?
because it is. I mean, women teach their daughters on how a man should treat them rather than lessons of reciprocation. You have more women out here who have the what I have is mine and what he has is mine mentality rather than the extreme opposite, which is, I'll help him or whatever. Most women don't even have anything in the middle, which is reciprocation. And that is from, I'm not saying anybody's wrong in this, but it's from upbringing. Women don't sit their daughters down and go, "Hey, this is how you should treat a man. This is how da 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 da." They go, "No, this is if a little boy is going to start dating you, then he should do this, 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 and this. If a young man's going to start dating you, then don't accept this, accept that. If he treats you like this, it's all about what he's doing for her and how she should accept or not accept his behavior or his treatment or whatever." But rarely do women teach reciprocation, right? And we're not even going to talk about the far opposite. But and it manifests itself even through dating. I don't care if the dating starts in someone's 20s or 30s or 40s. It doesn't matter the age. But look at dating. Most women think that, okay, I'm by myself, I'm single, I'm not dating, I'm paying all my bills, I'm paying for my food, I'm paying for my gas, I'm doing everything. But when I start dating and a man comes along, he has to take a lot of this over. He's got to pay for my gas. He's got to pay for my food. When we go out, he's got to do this. He's got to buy me this. He's got to give me roses. I have to relay what I like, or I'm going to relay what I like, and he should do it if he's interested. That scenario is called pressure these days, right? All of this superficial, materialistic, tangible pressure, right? And the woman sits up there and goes, "Oh, well, after he does 10 things for me, I might throw something in there and do one thing for him." And then, I'm all good with that. But you have more women on that. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that all women are like that. I'm saying you have more women like that who are going, "Look, I need to be chased. I need to be sought after. And you have to do things for me in order to make me feel like you're interested," rather than, "Hey, as you make me feel like you're interested, I'm going to make you feel like that I'm interested," right? I'm going to reciprocate without even a thought. And I'll get to that later. But most women do not think like that because they're not
Well,
raised
I
and
think
taught like that.
I think it's societal because it's like you just said. You said that a woman is waiting for a man to pursue her. Of course she is. That's what women want. They want to be pursued. Men need to pursue a woman that he likes. And I think women, and I don't think it's most women. I haven't, I can only come from my experience and the people that are in my sphere of experience. And the people that I know aren't sitting back going, "What can he do for me? What can he do for me? What can he do for me?" I think that, I mean, at least the women that I know are giving as well as receiving in a relationship. And then when the relationship when it's not working for either one, then they have to reevaluate and say, you know what, this isn't working because I'm giving like 80% and you're giving 20. And this ain't working for me anymore. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So
Uh-huh.
I don't see that as being, but that wasn't the question. You said the question was, do mothers sit their daughters down and say, this is how you treat a man? No.
Alicia says, true statement.
I think mothers expect daughters to see how they treat a man and like this is how you do it. Just follow along with what I just did. You know what I'm saying? Which is
That
not,
that's very accurate.
yeah, which is
That,
not
that what you
always
just,
good. That's not good.
right, right.
You
What you
know?
just said is very accurate. You. The way you love is learned. The way you see love, you portray most likely. You're either. I've said this before. When whatever you see growing up, you're either going to duplicate or do the opposite of. Right. Most people don't take lessons from both and try to merge them. It's just almost subliminal to do one extreme or the other. So you're exactly right when you just said that.
Hey, Keisha. So I want to elaborate on that because I look at it from both points. Well, let me say this. I've experienced it from both ends. Coming from the culture I come from, you are taught how to take care of a man, right?
Right. Yours is going to be cultural, which is totally different from what over here.
Right. So that's totally different. It's absolutely different. But also, you'll said something key that it's learned. It's what you see, right? So I saw a lot of infidelity growing up, and it was accepted. And when your husband came home, you treated him like he didn't do anything, and life just continued. And maybe I'm Americanized, but that is not gonna fly over here, right? Of course, there's things we have to unlearn. Okay, now American Rabia. Okay, um, I really realized after I got divorced that I was very one-sided because you're not supposed to put your hands on a woman. You're not supposed to do all these things, and because men are stronger and they're bigger, and no, and yes, you should not do that. But our mouths are ridiculous. A woman, you can make a man feel this big. And what men need respect. Now, I'm not justifying poor behavior. Please hear me clearly, right? But it's both people. It's maybe one contributed more, but we are not taught to shut up, leave. No, we are taught in my culture, you stay. No matter what happens, you stay. And there are women even today in 2022 that are taught the same thing. You don't go through divorce. I know African women that have been born and raised in the US, they will not leave no matter what, right?
Mhm.
Um, so I sat my children down and I said, hey guys, what you witnessed in this house was not how it's supposed to be. I make sure that my girls honor their brother and I make them honor him. I mean, reciprocated because I have to undo a lot of stuff that they saw that I just didn't, I thought it was normal because that was the environment I was in from my background, all that stuff. But to say that I know most women teach their girls, no, I always hear men teaching men, hey, don't do this, you better do this. And it is a lot of pressure for men to perform. It's like when we are about to get married, some of us get so comfortable that oh, he's gonna provide everything. And we're not sitting back and thinking, okay, how do I create more income or how do I because let me tell y'all, my mother was very submissive, but my mother was a businesswoman. She just didn't stay home and raise the kids. She also contributed to the family's finances.
I know, but there's nothing wrong with if a man and woman come together and they make that agreement.
If
Hey,
they make
you
that
stay
agreement, you
home.
shouldn't have an assumption as a woman
I mean,
that
not an assumption, but I'm saying if they make that agreement that, hey, you're going to stay home with the
you're
kids
right.
and you're going to do this, and this is what we agree upon, then
Right. If it's agreed upon, absolutely. But I'm talking about conversations I've heard, like looking for to be taken care of. If that's something you and your guy, I've had women like friends of mine tell me, like, girl, you're wasting your time. You don't have to work. You don't really. So I'm supposed to use my looks, my body, whatever for a steak dinner, for
Yes,
my
yes, that's what
no,
a lot of women think. I
for
said
your cell phone to be paid.
yes,
Really?
yes.
But see, there's a key in that though. Let me tell you what though. When I got divorced, I told myself I will become financially independent and stable, and I will not take from. I don't want to depend on anybody, right? But that was from like a trauma response, right? Hey, Felicia, that was from a
Hey.
straight up trauma response. That where I was coming from. It's different if you're in a marriage or in a relationship and it's like this give and take. You may not buy all the stuff, but you may be doing other things. You can't like just allow the man to constantly do those things. I don't think that's fair. And I have a
It's
son. I'm looking at
it's
his balance,
it's
and he ain't
it's
doing
not fair.
no.
It's not fair whatsoever. And I said at the very beginning, there are far too many women who think my money is my money and his money is my money type situation, right? All they do, and especially when you have add social media into this whole thing, where you have a whole bunch of women who gloss and glamour and go under the knife to put themselves up, and they're going, hey, I'm sooner or later going to get a baller or somebody who's going to take care of this, right? And all I got to do is sit back and look pretty, or sit back and have his kids, or whatever the case may be. And what a lot of women don't understand is that if you are look, and like Kim said earlier, if it's an agreement, then there's no sin in the matter. I tell people all the time, like, one of the biggest conversations that really annoys me is, should men and women go 50-50 in a relationship or a marriage? Who cares? Choose your preference. That's all I say. Choose your preference and own your decision. If you're a woman who wants the man to do everything and he pays the bills and it's 100-0 his way, right? Well, then go out and find that man, because there's a man out there who wants to pay for everything for a woman. If you're a woman who doesn't mind doing or wants to do 50-50 for whatever reason, well, then there's a man out there that wants to do that too. Go
Right.
find that man, right? But the problem is men and women, they meet somebody and then they try to change that person into their own expectations when they don't even have them, right? And if it's agreed upon, then that's fine. But what a lot of women, I'm gonna harp on women for a second. What a lot of women don't understand is, if the man is doing 100% of everything, if he's paying all the bills, if he's bringing in all the money, if he's saying, hey, look, you can make your money, but I'm paying for everything. There is always something that she sacrifices morally, physically, something. There's a controlling factor from a man from that point of view. There is an insecurity factor, because as soon as she's quote unquote steps out of line, he goes, wait a second, I pay for everything in the house. I do this, I do that. And those controlling, insecure things come out. It's very common for men to get very cavemanish when they are they're doing everything. Men will quickly pull that I'm paying for this, I'm paying for that, I do everything for you card, right? And then, like you said, Grace, if a woman's not financially stable in a situation like that, well, then if he's built her up to a particular lifestyle that she's living, and he's trying to control her in that manner, she's really not thinking about leaving, because she's going to go from here to there, because she haven't established her own, or she's not in a position yet to get her own. It may take her a little bit longer. So she stays for the prize and possessions and everything that he gives her, but she sacrifices so much in order to do that.
So Keisha Walker says, I was taught how to take care of a man. Unfortunately, a lot of men are the ones that are looking to be taken care of.
That's so true. You find a lot of men who are looking for a woman to be a mom. Can you be
Mhm.
my mom for me? Maybe
That all
because
that
they have mommy
codependency.
issues or whatever the case, but they are actually looking for someone who will feel that void and become, oh well, my mom does this or my mom did
Um,
that.
yeah, Brian, you brought up so many valid points. I don't want to pass by that. One of the things you said was, it's almost, well, I'm going to paraphrase it. It's like some men will go on a power trip because they're taking care of everything.
Cavemanish. Yep.
Okay. So basically, when he got with you, he was real cool, wanting to do that, and then he tries to control you by using finances, just like women try to control men by using sex. So it's the same thing, really, except, and that's, you know, that's a hard thing though. is when somebody wants to control a grown ass woman or even a grown ass man. You know, oh God. Anyway, don't get me started on that. Um, what do you think, Felicia?
Well, I think more and more these men want a superwoman. They want you to be 50-50. They want you to take care of the household. They want you to take care of the kids. And early on in my marriage, I told my husband, if I do 50% of the income, you do 50% of the housework. You can't ask me to do half your job and then me do my full job. It's one person. You know, I'm one person. And I think, like he said, you should establish that in the beginning. If I'm
Right.
going to have to work, then you're gonna have to help with this housework. You can't expect for me to work, do the housework, take care of the kids. I mean, that's just way too much. And a lot of women get overwhelmed because they don't set those boundaries, and then they become like, you hear the stuff where the guy goes, "Well, my mom worked 2 jobs, took care of us, and cooked dinner, and blah blah blah. So you want me to struggle like your mama was struggling?"
Right. And your mother probably didn't do anything else but that. Nowadays, we do
Right,
multiple things. We have
right,
podcasts, we're writing books, we have
right,
ministry. So I get what you're saying.
right,
Because in my marriage, I did everything.
right,
But that was also how I was raised. So I didn't even if I was exhausted, I just did it.
right.
You know what I mean?
And that's how you get burned
Oh,
out in a
yeah,
relationship
you do.
when you do everything.
And then your husband wants to have sex and you're tired and they don't understand why you're tired.
Right,
But a lot of times it's not. Men mask the whole mama issue because it's easy to admit that rather than tell a better truth. You just finished with a woman who did those things for you,
right,
right? And she probably got sick of doing it and ended it. And then you jump to another woman and you just look for the same woman in a different body, right? Someone
Right.
who's going to do everything. So it's easier to say, oh well, my mom did this, rather than go, well, I was just taken care of by another woman. I mean, look how that sounds. If you're in a disagreement,
I
if
mean,
you're in a disagreement, and I go, well, shoot, Kim just took care of me in my last relationship. Shoot, then if you really want to be with me, you should treat me like she did. No, that sounds really bad, right? That's way worse than saying, well, my mom, right? It's more of a, well, I had one or two women who did all this for me, and they probably left me for doing all this. So I'm just trying to look for another one who will.
right,
they will make a person go on strike. You have no clean drawers. Go
right.
ahead on with that. You have no clean drawers, and you'll eat chicken feet curry
Right.
just cause.
Because we went through a period of time where my husband, he was a true bachelor, and he would leave his socks on the floor, and it really irritated me. And I asked him just in a really nice way, "Hey, could you get these socks up?" So after a while, I just started throwing them in the trash, and he had no socks. And the issue was, "Where are my socks?" I said, "Well, they were on the floor. I thought they were trash." So at that point, he realized, okay, she's not my mama. She's not. And, I had to make that very clear. But, I mean, in every relationship, it's like we say, quote unquote, we want to be a stay home mom, but that's a full time job.
That's a lot.
It's a lot. And I don't think anybody realizes it, especially men, until they have to do it, until
Yeah,
like, if I get sick and my husband is taking care of the kids, taking them to
it's a
school,
lot.
cooking dinner, he's like, this is just too much.
Right.
You don't get it until you're in that situation. So, like he
Right.
says, when a man, like now, if it has been a period of time where I have not had a job and my husband was the only one working in the household, it never was a problem because he understood my job and he understood what I was doing for the household and my contribution. And I think that's a lot of the time men don't really understand the contribution of the woman if they feel like I'm paying for everything and all she's doing is sitting home all day, when that's truly not the case. Now, sometimes it could be if she has a maid and a nanny and all that, then it could be. And a lot of the times men say, okay, they want to do this because of status, and then they get into it and they just get tired of doing it. Not that they can't afford it, they just get tired of doing it for some
Right.
reason, you know. So, like I said, it's the dynamic of the relationship.
Keisha Walker says, no, no, no. It's not a social media issue. We know that's garbage. I'm not trying to pop my titty out and nurse a grown man. You know what? I'm gonna say this. Now I don't mention names, but I know some people. Um, their father was an alcoholic, right?
Mhm.
So she didn't want him to work because she was afraid if he went out to work, he may not come home. He may go get drunk, right? So this ninja would stay at the couch all day, right?
Wow.
Okay. Well, this woman had sons, and their sons got married. Oh God. Anyway, and so the son thought he could do the same thing.
Right. Why wouldn't he?
Right.
Because no matter what people talk about what goes on in a relationship or a marriage, there is nothing new, right? So before you get in a relationship, you date the next amount of time. Now, most people rush these days, right?
Right.
But the person can't hide their avatar forever, right?
But what if though, Brian? What if we met them, they weren't like that?
No.
Because
There's no. You can't hide your avatar
can't
forever.
hide it.
There will be glitz and pieces of things that come out that people overlook. I'll give you a really good example. Okay. So let's just say man and woman are out on a date. They go out 2 times and they're having a good time. But the second time, the man says, "Hey, I want you to call me when you get home," right? And let's just say she's just dog tired and she gets home, she takes a shower, she lays down, she intends to call him, but she doesn't, right? And she got home at 11. He was expecting her to call at like 11:15. She doesn't. Well, then he calls her 2 or 3 times within that same hour, and she doesn't pick up the phone. He sends 2 or 3 more voice messages and he doesn't pick up, and she doesn't pick up the phone. He texts her, "Hey, I'm just checking on you. Hey, what's going on?" She doesn't pick up the phone, right? But then the next day when she calls him and says, "Hey, sorry, I didn't pick up your message. I went to sleep." He almost gets on a power trip and says, "Hey, when I tell you to call me when you get home, I mean it. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's something that I want you to do because of such and such and such and such." And he's really power tripping right now. But she's taking it as, "Oh, he cares for me. He really wanted me. Oh girl, he wanted me. He wanted to know that I was safe. He sent me 5 texts and 3 voicemails, and he called me 6 times, girl." That is not this dude trying to find out if you're safe. It is kind of, but it's masked in a whole. You mask the insecurities, the controlling factor, and everything. So guess what? There's he came out with his avatar, and you decided to not see it for what it is. So whatever happens in a relationship, it's done before. You just didn't recognize it or want to recognize it. Whatever happens in a marriage, if a man is leaving his drink everywhere, half a bottle of water everywhere. Every time he drinks a water bottle, there's half left, and he just sits it down, and the woman has to go through and pick it up. It just didn't start in the marriage. It happened in the relationship, and it happened in the dating part. So there's nothing new. She shouldn't be surprised about any of that stuff. So the guy that you're talking about, who grew up watching his dad being lazy, nothing was practiced to counter that. So he just started performing and practicing what he saw. So I'll say it again. You are not who you are. You are not who you believe you are. You are not who you think you are. You are what you practice. And if you don't practice things prior to, if women don't practice, let's just say there's a 30-year-old woman who's looking to date, but she's trying her best to understand the term reciprocation because she has not been taught how to treat a man properly. If she doesn't take the time out to take him out, if he takes her out once or twice and then she goes, "Hey, I want to take you out." If she doesn't practice doing those things, if she doesn't practice treating him like he's a really good friend, right? And we miss that in relationships. That's a part, boyfriend, girlfriend, common denominator, friend. We miss that part because I'll tell you one thing right now, Robbie, if you went to go take Kim out tomorrow, if you said, "Hey, Kim, let's go out. I want you to go with me a few places. And I need you to be there with me, blah, blah, blah." And then y'all went to a restaurant and then you paid for Kim's meal. And then y'all went to another place and Kim looked at her hat and she goes, "Oh, this is cute." And then he said, "Girl, I'll get it for you." Not only is Kim thinking gratification and thank you, Rabia, but the next time y'all go out, I bet you money Kim's like, "Oh, no, girl, I got it. You got me last time," right? Mm-hmm. Because that's automatic reciprocation. But women don't think like that. Women don't think automatic reciprocation on a friendship level because they're not taught to think like that. And most people don't start relationships from a friendship basis or even thinking like that. So women don't practice if like I said in that scenario, I was saying if a 30-year-old woman's trying to practice reciprocation, it should be automatic, like she would reciprocate her best friend. He does something, I do something. It's not a tit for tat. It's just a method of thank you and gratification that you would do with a friend that you care for, like you would do for a guy that you care for. The only difference is you add the erotic side.
Very true. Let me read this comment and then I'm going to elaborate a little bit on that. Keisha says, there was this cat that kept telling me, you remind me of my mama.
Why did you have to do that, boy?
Because I can't. And I told him that was dysfunctional because I don't know any man that wants to screw their mama. I'll tell you what though, that's a fact though. I do not want to be any man's mother.
No.
It's like you can be you want to help people be healthy and all that stuff, but you have to know the balance, right? Because the last thing I want a man to tell me, you acting like my mama. Okay. I can't read some of these comments. I can't. I can't because I don't know who this is. Hi there. Can you tell us who you are? And that's the only comments I can read because but anyway, so
But my question, I know that this topic, I don't mean to cut you off, Rabia, is
no, you're
about
fine.
how women treat men. But I don't know if this was previously discussed, but you have a lot of women raised by single women, raised by single women. So in that dynamic, these women have no idea how to treat a man. You know,
So
they
I
never
call
had
them,
men
yeah,
come
I
in and
call
out
them
the house.
BBs.
Yeah. And then I've even heard of one dynamic where this lady was cooking steaks for this man she was with and his friends, and the kids were
I
hungry.
remember that.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
I remember that. I read that too.
Right. And I was like, now what is this teaching these young kids? Your mom is here cooking steaks for her boyfriend and his friends, and y'all are hungry. You know, what is that? What those kids see that, and that behavior becomes acceptable to them. They feel like that's okay. My kids can eat ramen noodles and I can eat steak. That's okay.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's unacceptable.
yeah. So it's like,
Yeah,
how can women teach other women how to treat men when they don't know how? When they have
that's a fact. But you see, I notice a lot of women and just people, period, are not teachable. They're not willing to unlearn and relearn.
right.
I mean, I see that a lot because I talk to a lot of people, and you see that, and you're like, "How is this working? How is your parents' marriage?" You know, because I see older couples sometimes, and they've together for 2,000 years and
Yeah.
miserable. I mean,
Yeah.
seriously, no one's looking for a perfect relationship because that does not exist. That is unrealistic to look for a perfect person and a perfect relationship. It goes back to can you accept certain things about people, right? Brian, you said something about you see certain signs, and I wasn't to disagree, but I had to think back in my mind about my marriage, right? My ex drinks now, but when we were married and he was in college, he started drinking in college, right? But I thought, I just thought, oh, you can call it that will come to an end, right? Because that's what college students do. And then it just continued and got worse. So you're right. It does start somewhere. I just didn't see it. And it was because probably I wasn't mature enough and I didn't have the mind I have now back then. And if I'm honest, I realized in this phase of my life that I had been in survival mode my whole life. I didn't know how to relax because I was always bracing myself. So I think in any relationship that I was in, I was waiting for the other shoes to fall off. Because surely you're going to be shitty also. Because I experienced shitty as a kid and then just shitty and then, not feeling a certain way. So you're right.
Yeah.
You do notice those things. And
And
sometimes you got to be honest with yourself and say, you dropped the ball, honey. You should lift that ninja before you had them kids. Not that you regret your kids, but a lot of the trauma that they experienced could have been avoided
Yes.
yes.
because you made it. And let me tell you, somebody told me, well, if you didn't marry your husband, then you wouldn't have your kids. And I tell people that is bullshit because you would have somebody's kids, honey, just not his kids. So I
Right.
like to when people try to get that twisted. No, I would have another man's child, okay? Children. But I hate it when they use and it reminds me of control, like Brian was
Cuss
talking about.
jar, cuss jar. You're the cuss jar.
Shit is
Mhm.
not cussing. But anyway.
Yeah, I think I was opposite because I grew up where I seen functional, dysfunctional, and crazy relationships.
Ooh.
And I always knew, like I've seen like a quite a few, unfortunately, as a child, I've seen quite a few abusive relationships where the man was abusive. And in college, I knew right away, oh, he beats. Oh, he beats. And that was a big deal for me. I could tell like one this guy and I were dating and we had an argument and he threw a pillow at me, like on a couch pillow.
Like joking or no?
He was playing, but I said, no, I'm good. I'll see you later. Never talk to him again. Because I said, okay, today it's a pillow, tomorrow it's a
All right.
strangle, then it's a
Yeah.
push, you know. So I
Yeah.
always was on guard because I seen it so much. I was like, I'm never gonna let a man put his hands on me. So I was really on guard. And that's like as children, it was very impressionable on me because when I've seen people have TVs thrown at them. I mean, I've seen like hardcore abuse and control by men from one side of my family. And it was like, this is not hot. You know, this is not what I want in a relationship. And then I've also seen these loving relationships. And then I've seen some very dysfunctional relationships. So it's kind of like I have like the spectrum of what good and bad is, you know? So yeah, I think at an early age, we do either you learn it or you don't. Either you see it or you don't. And unfortunately, a lot of us don't see it because there are not very many two-parent homes anymore.
Yeah. And then also like, oh my gosh, I could tell you stories, but we don't have, I guess we don't have time for that. Like just African, what I saw in African households, not even in my household, because my mother used to mentor and counsel people, right? So I
Mhm.
was very nosy as a kid, y'all. I used to be right there listening to everybody's business. Uh-huh. I was. And then, the things I heard and the advice my mother would give them, and a lot of the advice that I realized that was that these women were not having sex with their husbands. They were not. Because a
Mhm.
lot of times these men wanted two or three wives. And the woman was like, no, you're not having another wife. And then he'll tell my mom, because they'd come together, well, she doesn't have sex with me, so I have to get. And she's like, well, I have these four kids that are under, 6 and blah, blah, blah. And what I noticed that there were a lot of professional people, like doctors and lawyers and all that.
Oh
It
wow.
wasn't just like, yeah. And they would get the wives and they
Wow.
would go and get Christian women, convert them to Islam. They would bring them back to our house. Then we would teach them certain, Islamic things. And the first wife would accept it, but she would be like, no, she needs to get her own house. And some of them did because they had the money to do that. And some were all in one house.
Oh wow.
Can you imagine that?
No.
No.
Maybe, hey, you'll see a side of Rabia you've never seen because I must hear you in the other room. Oh, the thought. But I don't know who is this messaging, but y'all, who Jesus,
No.
Jesus is
Um,
Lord.
the divorce rate is so high in America. So we realize that there are a lot of unhealthy relationships, starting from the beginning of the relationship to the time that the divorce happens, right? We just need more healthy relationships, I think. More people with more healthy relationships. You know?
And you know,
Don't we?
yeah, I hear people say, well, back in the day, and I had a conversation. Well, my cousin was talking to my grandmother. I was ear hustling, and she was asking my grandmother why she married my grandfather because my grandfather had like 10 kids, and then he had 10 kids that were outside the household, like 20 altogether. So she was like, why did you marry him? And my grandmother says, and it was kind of profound. We don't marry. I didn't marry for love. We married to survive. So their mentality of marriage, like we think we got to be in love. She married to survive. The
Yep.
times were hard. You know, you had to have people on the farm. You had to have people help, right? You know, you married. She was in survival mode. She was not into, oh, we fell in love. Because we asked, you know, did you fall in love? She says, no, that y'all, that's, and my grandmother was born in the 1920s. So
Right.
just to give you a background. But her whole concept of marriage is totally different from ours, you know. So it's like their way of thinking. So yeah, they stay together, but your grandmother might have liked your grandfather, might have cared deeply for him, but back then that
Yeah.
love was not a priority. It was like
Well, it's
let's
also,
just get form together.
that also has historical context too. I mean, if you're a black woman living in a white America, right, in the 1920s, 30s, and 40s, right, and you need protection,
Yep.
and a man is going to provide that for you, especially back then, as much as he could,
Right.
right, and you
Right.
need to get some type of community based situation so you guys can mesh together, so you can keep whitey away, right, and the
Right.
racism that white people oppose upon black people. So although you know, I know situations exactly like the one that you're saying. A lot of that though was very historically based off of the reaction to racism, right, and the way that if someone's born in 1920, they're just 60 years out of the Emancipation Proclamation, right?
Right.
So that's their mom and dad's generation, that they may have been slaves. So that mentality has not gone away. But you are right. There are grandparents who sleep in different rooms, who just got together because, you know, hey, I needed somebody. He approached me, or it was I was about to graduate high school, or I didn't even make it out of high school, and he approached me and he said he was going to give me a house and some
Right.
land, and let's go. Hey, let's go to it. You know. But of course, now things have changed a lot, and you know, like Kim said, you know, a lot of things we just need to have healthy relationships. But there are a lot of broken people out here. But at the same time, and I hate saying "but" because "but" is, you know, anything you say before "but" is sometimes uh,
Was
irrelevant.
indicted.
At the same time, I'll say that
Mhm.
God instills common sense in all of us, right? And a lot of the situations that we're in, the relationships, the bad toxicity that goes on, the divorce rate, the number one reason for divorce is finances. The number two reason is infidelity, adultery, cheating, and stuff like that. So a lot of this stuff could be fixed prior to, if people had grown conversations, adult conversations, mature conversations, and really got to know the person that they were marrying. Right? A lot of people don't marry for the right reasons, and we see you. I know people right now that they are in bad relationships, and then they get engaged, and I'm like, y'all ain't gonna last 2 years.
Dang, Brian.
Y'all ain't gonna last 2 years.
Right.
Yes. No, but
I feel bad. Like, there are so many marriages that have gone through a divorce in the past 10 years, that when they first started, when I looked at them, like from out of college and stuff like that, I was like, y'all are not going to survive, because one person is easily the no good one, and the other one is trying to change the no good one. And you're having kids trying to keep the no good one and change the good one and all this other stuff. Y'all aren't going to survive. And then boom, 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 divorce, 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 divorce. It's amazing. But if people handle stuff prior to properly, like Kim said, healthier situations, we wouldn't have it that high.
I remember asking my grandmother once, me and Felicia's grandmother, and I was like, "Where did you and my granddad, Daddy Kurt, where did y'all meet?" And she said, "I met him in a cotton field, and that's where I should have left him."
Wow.
I was
Yeah.
like, "Dang."
Wow.
Yes,
wow, that was so honest. Oh my God.
Wow. Yeah.
That is so honest. I want to get to some comments. Keisha says, some dude threw a cell phone at me. I didn't say anything or showed him. I was pissed. I just walked out the room. He bought me a new phone the next day and told me that that was all the proof he needed to know I was crazy. I told him, try that abusive crap with someone else. Girl, that
Mm,
took, wow.
I agree.
Beat
Ooh,
his ass.
Yeah.
Keisha said, I don't want to marry for love. Love gives you a thrill, but doesn't pay one bill. You know what I tell people? Love is intelligent.
I was
It's
about to
less.
say that's not true. That's not true, because love is action. People think that
Yes.
love is just a emotion. No, it's
Love is
not.
intelligent.
Love is very intelligent, and it will tell
Yes.
you exactly what you need to do and what you
Exactly.
don't need to do. It will tell you where your peace is being compromised or where your peace is being accepted. It's your other emotions that jack up the love. It's the lust, it's the fear, it's all the other stuff that come in and overpower love. Love is the big thing, right? Love is the big thing. If people understand that love is an action, it's totally different. Love is one of the
Yes.
most intelligent things ever.
It is.
Brian, you spoke those people's divorces into existence.
No, I didn't. It's just common sense. One plus one is two. One plus
Dang.
one is
Even
two.
at our age, you
That's
see
true.
women, my age, I'm 50, 45, 50 range. If they're in getting married again and you see the person that they're trying to marry, you can clearly see it's out of desperation. It's like there's nothing about this guy
Yeah,
that's good. And this is not gonna work. And usually about a year or two later, they're like, it didn't work out,
it's
Or
easy.
it was all physical. Like you see, this couple, they were like on paper, in person. He was a personal trainer. She was a trainer. They had the best bodies. They were in their 40s. They were living their best life on Instagram and YouTube. It was like, oh wow, that's a cute couple. 2 years later, it's over because it was
Yeah,
all just smoke and mirrors. It wasn't anything,
no
Yes.
substance.
right.
This is why we need to go on Netflix and get arranged marriages. Hmm.
That's
Um,
bullshit.
no,
Sorry.
I'm joking. I'm joking. Keisha says, no, Brian, love is an action. You got to get into a relationship nowadays full of lust.
I mean, I've said it multiple times on this show that people fall in lust and try
Yeah,
to
and not
build
in
on
love.
that and think it's love, right? But the genuine authenticity of love is very intelligent and it's all action. If you love, in the scenario I talked about with Robbie and Kim, with their reciprocation, it's action. You're showing your best friend, I love you. I'm going to do things for you without even a thought. And then the best friend comes back and says, boom, I'm going to do something for you. It's all action based. If no one does anything in a relationship with genuine feelings and authenticity, it is anything else but love. But if two people are in love, starting with love of themselves and are reciprocating properly, it's all good. That's love, not lust. But I mean, she's correct. Most people operate on lust. That's why things don't work.
Yeah.
No, they don't, because I see it so much. People move too fast nowadays anyway.
Yeah.
Because, for myself, I'll talk about myself. I know that I could not move fast in any relationship. I have to move slow, because if I don't, I'll end up just, it won't, because I don't trust myself in some ways, right? Because I'm telling you why. Not that I would do anything, because I understand my trauma and I've become an expert on myself. And I know that sometimes what I'm feeling is not real. It is not real. It is based on something from my past. So I need more time to process. Now, of course, there's
Mhm.
some things you got to move quickly. But for me, you can rush me, because a lot of times trauma can lead you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that feels like this because it feels
Mhm.
familiar. Maybe a wound was touched. Maybe they pressed a button. It has nothing to do with that other person, because my trauma is not his responsibility, right? Does he
Mm-hmm.
help? Yes, he should help. But he can't soothe me constantly. I got to learn to self soothe. And a lot of people depend on other people to make them feel a certain way.
Make them feel happy. Yeah.
Told me, he's like, it's your job to make me happy. I knew the Negro was toxic. It's not my job to make you happy, sir.
No.
That means I would
Mhm.
spend my life trying to appease this ninja. I was like, hell no, I can't do that.
Right.
A grown ass 50-year-old man. If
Mm-hmm.
at this point you haven't learned self soothing, that's not my problem. That's your
Yeah,
problem.
exactly.
And even
Okay.
we teach our children to self soothe. Like I tell my daughter, control yourself. I'm not saying don't have a moment. Have a moment, because emotions, they are there. God gave us that for a reason. It's to protect us, to keep us safe. But when you start being propelled by that, it becomes a problem. When every move you make is just straight emotions. Mm-mm. And my living, y'all, she's very, very emotional. But one time, y'all, I would tell her stop crying, and then the Lord said to me, "But It's okay for you to throw a tantrum, but not okay for her to throw a tantrum.
Yeah, that may be her way.
And I was like, wait a minute. So what I do, allow it to have those moments. What you're
You
gonna have
have
to do is go
to.
to your room,
That's
baby.
healthy.
And
That's
I've
healthy.
done that in her room one time, like screaming in her pillow. I was like, I didn't say anything because right now that's what she does, and I'm okay with it.
Hmm.
You learning to maintain yourself. Whatever, as long as I don't hear you screaming, you talking trash to me and slamming doors in my house, then that's a problem.
So I have a question for you three women,
Mhm.
right? Um, Felicia said something earlier about there are a lot of men out here that want the woman to do everything, want them to be could be their dads, right? I mean, their moms, right?
Right.
And saying, hey, well, if we're gonna do this 50-50 thing, then you also need to contribute the 50-50 in the house. I can't do 50-50 and then be the woman of the house and clean up everything and do everything, and you just come here and do nothing, right?
Mhm.
So why isn't that common sensely reciprocated? That's common sense. Women don't want it. Let's just say on that example, you're in a relationship and it's, y'all have made an agreement about splitting the bills financially in some sort of way. But then all of a sudden he comes in and does absolutely nothing after both of you all have had a hard day's work or whatever. And then now you're overextending yourself to do everything in the house. Well, why do women, or why would y'all say that women don't think about that scenario on the opposite end, especially when it comes to dating in a relationship prior to a marriage? If a man is doing everything in the dating phase or in the relationship phase, and the woman is only putting in a little bit here and there of action or reciprocation, why is it tough for women to understand that this man may be getting frustrated or I need to do a little bit more because if I was doing everything, I would be pissed. And I would think that I would think that he's not interested in me, or he's just trying to take advantage of me if he's not reciprocating. So why do y'all think that women can see it on one end but can't see it on the other?
Well, go ahead, Rabia.
No, you go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, well, one of the things early on in my relationship with my husband, he would always pay. He would never let me pay when we go out, when we go to dinner, he would never pay. So because we were in a relationship, not just dating, I would say, come over, I'm gonna cook for you. Come over, I want to do something special with you today. Let's go to the park. Let's do so because I knew he wasn't gonna allow me to pay. Now he'll let me pay for everything. But I knew he was back then, he wouldn't allow me to pay for anything. I would find other ways to make him
Right.
happy, or I would find other things that he enjoyed doing that may not require money. Like I would sit and like some people don't even do the essential things. I don't. I like football. Okay, my husband loves football. But I would tell him, come over because I had a bigger TV. Come over and watch the game. And I would sit and watch the game with him because that's something he enjoyed doing. So I think that women have gotten away, like you said, they don't know how to do that. They don't know that, hey,
Right.
sitting here watching the game with him, making him some nachos, he's in heaven. They don't
Right.
realize those little things as friends. They're so caught up in going to this fancy restaurant, going to this fancy place, or buying this or buying that, and they don't build that core friendship and that core, connection to that person because of that. That's what I think. That if you sit and just let a man buy, you really don't care about him. You're interested in the things. That's just my opinion.
No, I agree with you. You can do other things,
Right.
right? Besides having sex, people, okay?
Yeah,
Because
you get
that's
that from
another thing you
anywhere.
think,
You
okay.
get that from
Hey,
anywhere.
come
Yeah.
I
on.
mean, people, that's but that's another show. And people, anyway. But yeah, you can do other things. If you can't afford to do the same things that he does, then you can do other things. Or you can plan dates that you don't have to go anywhere. Maybe you cook dinner. Maybe you do, different things or whatever that is, or cater another way. But I think, Brian, to your point, no one's been taught that. No one has said, hey, come here, little girl, let me sit down and talk to you real quick and explain certain things to you. We're not
Right.
doing that for many reasons. One, these little girls are really defensive. They are bitter bees. Okay. There are so many bitter bees out here for what they saw happen in their household, and then the cycle just continued. So they continue it. And for someone to tell them about gender roles or how things should be and how they should look and about reciprocation, they're not going to take that very lightly. I mean, very likely. And then it creates this whole thing, right? But I think it took for me to change my mindset when an older woman at church said to me, "Come here, Rabia." And then I started reading and doing the different things and realized that my natural inclination and thoughts aligned with those things. So it wasn't difficult for me to make those changes, right?
Common
Even though,
sense.
yes, it actually, even like when I think about stuff about therapy or about attachment styles, those things looking back and I was like, oh my gosh, that's so obvious
Right.
because I understand the label of it now. So you learn yourself, but people sometimes are not willing to do the work because they're not willing to face themselves truly. And I used to say, "Oh, people uh, are lazy. They just don't know. They just honestly don't know. Somebody has to sit their asses down and talk to them, but people are not willing to take on those roles, and sometimes they are not willing to listen.
Hmm. I
It's
think, Brian, that women, if a woman is not showing you attention or giving you, 80% or 50% of what you're giving her, she's just not that interested in you.
Right.
She's not.
really
If
not.
she was, she would put her all into it. If she's letting you do 100% and you're taking her out and you're spending money and you're buying flowers and you're treating her good and she's not doing anything, she's using you and
Right.
she's not interested. Because if she was interested, honestly, and this goes for any woman, she's going to do stuff because
Yeah.
she likes
Right.
you and
She's
she
gonna
wants
do
to be
stuff.
with you. And so she's going to put in the work. But if she's not, she's not.
Yeah.
She's using
She
you.
may not do it on the same financial level as you can, but she's gonna do
Yeah.
something.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she'll do something.
yeah, but it's not about finances. It's not about I spend $80 on you, you spend $80 on me. That's not
No.
reciprocation. It's there are and Kim, you got a great point. It's once again interest, love. Those things are actions, right? If
Right.
Right.
if if I am not doing something for someone, it's because I'm disinterested. I don't like you very much, whatever the case may be. But there are more women than y'all would think that literally would stay in a situation like that because the man is doing everything for them, and that is what they're attracted to.
Yeah.
That's what they would prefer. And once again, that's not a sin. If there is a woman out there that says I'm attracted to men that do everything for me, right? That's not a sin, right? That's her truth, and that's fine. And there are men out there that go, I'm attracted to women that are totally submissive to me, where I do everything for them and they just listen to me all day, right? And that's not a sin either. So there are a lot of people who are even attracted to that mode, but it's just and y'all gave some great answers. It would seem to me that it's more common sense that sooner or later, if someone's not reciprocating at some type of frequency that you are, that you get very upset and you would possibly have talks about it and things like that. So, and a lot of things are have nothing to do with the tangible stuff, like Felicia said, if I know that a woman has a certain interest, let's just say she loves going to operas, right? And I may not be an opera dude, but what if I just sat down with her and I said, okay, let's go over here. And I went and I took her to an empty orchestra, area, whatever. And I said, listen, I want to learn what you love about all of this. And maybe I brought a little picnic thing. I made like a, little picnic basket of some food or whatever, because we may be there a while or whatever, just trying to show her that I'm interested in other ways than just buying something for her or buying her Gucci or taking her to Ruth's Chris. Those things become boring after a while. Getting creative with your reciprocation. Showing the other person that you're very interested in them last a lot longer. That can evolve.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. Um, this man and woman thing, sometimes it feels it's like a war against, men and women, but it's really not. If we could just come to an equal place, right? Where we can
Yeah.
have these conversations in a way where no one's saying, well, you do this and and just be honest. And if each person could own up to what they don't do, I think more relationships would be successful. That's what I feel. Just honest, like be freaking
No, you're
honest.
dead.
People are not
You're dead.
honest.
You're dead right. You're 100%. I told my friend the other day. I said, Bud. He was asking me about. He was like, "Hey man, what's going on? What's going on with the dating scene?" I said, it's it's crazy out here because there is a war going on between black men and black women in this dating world on you did this, oh no, but you did this, and men are irresponsible here and women lack accountability here, and it's a big pointing fight, and no one's taking real accountability on it. And Robbie, you're right. If we can just like actually sit down, calm down, leave our emotions over here and start thinking with more logic and understanding and comprehension, things can get done. The problem with that is you see how bad it is in real time when you have, like I said earlier, that post that went around that was going, hey, do you want a relationship that's 50-50, or do you want a relationship where the man does everything, or when you want a relationship where the woman, like that got annoying because people just started fighting on their comment after comment, calling people, if you're not a man, if you don't do 100, if you don't do the man, I do everything for my woman, I do this and I do that, and if you don't do that, you ain't a man. And then the woman would come back, be like, that don't mean you ain't a man. And it's just a big fight all the way down on everybody's opinions because we don't know where people come from, we don't know how they were raised, and they're just spewing their portrayals of how things should be. A lot of people are still bleeding. A lot of people aren't healed. And it gets annoying and it gets draining. Like when I started talking about that 50-50 combo, Felicia did this. Right? It's draining. It is draining. And it is a war going on between black women and black men. And it is draining.
And, a lot of these relationships, and this is kind of going off the, not task, but off subject, but a lot of these relationships are built on sand.
Yeah.
If you think about it, the test of every long-term relationship, and I'm saying everyone, I've been married for 24 years. I know people have been married for 30, 40 years. Every long-term relationship is they go through a phase they don't like each other and they have something traumatic happen. Whenever that first traumatic thing happens, if your relationship is built on sand, you will be in divorce court. And I mean the loss of a child, the loss of a parent, a sickness, a disease, because that is the true test of how this relationship is going to go. Because either after that traumatic event, a person may be bitter because they said the whole time I took care of this person, and that says a lot alone. So it's like we build these relationships on sand, and when we get into something real, when we get into real life, we're not talking about things and money and 50-50. We're talking about real life. Those relationships fall completely apart. That's just an observation.
Man, I just thought about something which I cannot share. Jesus help me. Y'all, I thank God for healing and deliverance,
Hey,
baby.
why you talk about stuff you can't share? Well, then don't say it then.
Okay, guys, we are past 8 o'clock. Do you guys have any final thoughts that you would like to share with a young lady or a
Yes.
young man?
Communication is key in a relationship. I think
Agreed.
that's the number one rule, communication. If you're not communicating, then it's not going to work. It's just not going to work. And a lot of you guys don't do what your mama did. Come on. Don't do what your mama did. Come on, girls. Come on. We got to think differently. We got to act differently. Hold yourself to a higher standard, you know?
Thank you. And be accountable. Shit.
Yeah.
You know? What
Find
about
out
you, Felicia?
you get into a relationship. Make sure you're already happy, because a relationship's not going to make you happy.
Mm-mm. Nope.
It is not.
Nope.
What about you, Brian?
I'm going to bounce off Kim. If communication is key, then comprehension is the lock. Because we can talk all day, but if we don't understand and comprehend where each other are coming from, nothing's going to be accomplished. And you must practice. I guess this bounces right off Felicia. You must practice prior to what you're going to be ready for, what you're asking for.
Yeah.
So whatever you're doing, if people want something out of a relationship, they need to start practicing and becoming that they want to that they want to have, so things can run a little bit more smoothly once you get into it.
Agree. I would say the same thing Kim said, communication. Don't listen to respond, listen to understand. Because a lot of times we are being defensive. If you really think about it and are honest with yourself, you're trying to defend your point. But then why are you trying to defend your point? Because your partner, your husband is not your enemy. But a lot of times we having conversations and arguments thinking the person is your enemy and they're not.
Yeah.
So that's what I would tell somebody. Don't argue like your life depends on it being right. Like, please. But anyway, guys, I want to say thank you for listening, and we'll see you guys next week if my screen doesn't freeze. Bye, y'all.
Bye.